So we're joined from the campus of Belhaven University, home of the Blazers, by my friend Victoria Fauntroy, athletic trainer for the dance department there at Belhaven. We thank you so much for joining us today. I've got a room full here with me at Velma Jackson High School. We're recording this for all of our friends in Madison County schools, Madison Central, Rosa Scott, Ridgeland High School, Germantown High School, the Academic Options Center, and our YouTube channel. We're in the Health Science Career Cluster, and as always, we thank you so much for taking some time for us today.
Thanks for having me. I always appreciate being here.
Now, obviously, we want to talk about all the cool stuff you do because it really is a new area of training with the dance science. But you're originally from the DMV, the Washington, D.C. area.
Yep.
Northern Virginia, went to George Mason University.
Yep.
Got 2 degrees there in athletic training. And something that we have never talked about, and I cannot believe we haven't, is George Mason is the largest university in Virginia with over 40,000 students, even larger than UVA. So even though you went to a big high school,
Yeah.
just talk about your adjustment coming out of high school to go to a very large, tons of people university.
Yeah, I even think before high school. So I was homeschooled from preschool all the way up until my sophomore year of high school. So even going into high school was an adjustment. But I think high school, my high school was fairly big, so I was used to just being around a lot of people. I think what helped with being at Mason, my uh, a degree. So we Mason has three campuses actually. And so my degree was actually at one of the satellite campuses. So I
Oh,
only had to go to May. So I lived on campus my freshman year. And so I think that helped just getting adjusted with all the different types of people. Mason is a big commuter school. So even though, there are so many people, a lot of them are driving in from around the campus. So it didn't honestly feel like a crazy ton of people. I think because I'm also an extrovert, so I was like, I like seeing a lot of people. But I think if you're not used to that, it can definitely be very overwhelming. But I think having that satellite campus where I just went and there was a lot like less people, helped kind of with the adjustment of getting into everything. So it wasn't like I was seeing like tens of thousands of people like every day. It was just like, a lot of people, but more here or there. So
now, and obviously, you got your degrees in kinesiology, athletic training, both your undergrad and your master's. But before you ever went to college, you were getting a lot of experience in this in high school. You were a big sports person, you were a big dance person as well, but you were doing helping out with athletic training for football, soccer, lacrosse, basketball. So you were really getting hands-on experience, which in this type of field is something that is needed.
yeah, I didn't even know what an athletic trainer was until my senior year of high school. I never heard of them or anything. But I had the opportunity to intern with the athletic trainers my senior year, and I just wanted to see what they did. And so I went to football camp for 2 days, for 2 weeks, and I was like, oh, this is perfect. So I ended up staying on the whole year and helped them with all the different types of sports. And I took the sports medicine class in high school. And so just like being around them really just gave me an idea of like what athletic training was, because I think some people might have a misconception sometimes of what we do. And so that gave me just like a hands-on look of like, oh, this is like the nitty-gritty of like what if we're not just handing out water bottles, we're not just taping ankles, like we're in the grit of it all. And so that helps me as I went into college, like be more prepared of like what actually I was about to do. So yeah, I mean, I definitely encourage like if you have an anatomy and physiology class or sports medicine class, or if you can even go shadow an athletic trainer like while you're in high school, like go do that because then you really get to see like what they're actually doing, and then that helps you make decisions when you go into college. So.
Yeah, and obviously you're in the dance side of it, and we're definitely going to get to that. But for kids that are interested, I'm a big sports person, but I don't really see myself playing after high school or after college. This is a field that that sports knowledge can be very helpful because if you play the sport and now you're an expert on preventing injury and doing stretches and things, this is a sport, a field where you can still be a big part of the team.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. I mean, I think a lot of athletic trainers, the way that we get into athletic training is we were athletes and we got injured and we saw what the whole process was like. So yes, I am a dancer, but I also played soccer. I also was did shot put and discus in high school. So like I can take that sports knowledge, and when I worked with soccer, like I understood what they did. And even if you don't like I tell people all the time, like the body is the body. It doesn't matter if you're a dancer or a wrestler or a football player, whatever. We all have the same bones, muscles, tendons, everything. It's just we move them differently. So like I've covered wrestling, but I've never wrestled a day in my life. But like I I watched them and in practice and when they, would perform, and I'm just like, okay, well, I learned their movement patterns, like I'm open, like now I can go be with them and treat them and respect them and stuff. So yeah, if you have a background in sports, I mean, that will definitely help you a ton in whatever direction you end up going. But I would also encourage you, like, don't be closed-minded to necessarily going into a sport that you don't really know. Like, we like to stay in places that we're comfortable, but try something new. Like, if you're a basketball player, try soccer, try tennis. Like, it's something completely different, but you might actually really enjoy it.
Yeah, and then also, and you talked about what all athletic trainer does. I mean, obviously, we see them when somebody gets injured. They're trying to evaluate injuries and know the severity. But if there's a cut, you guys are doing first aid to prevent further infection. You guys are helping people learn stretches if they're recovering from an injury to help with the movement of the muscles. You guys, obviously, you're wrapping the ankles, you're wrapping the wrist, you're wrapping the knees. You're helping people find out. Look, this is what brace works on your joint. This is what a pad you can wear to keep from further injuring that elbow. So there's a lot of research involved, and there's a lot of preventative things involved as well.
Yeah, I think athletic trainers, we have this really unique opportunity to be a part of the entire injury to recovery process. So starting with prevention, like whether that's taking our athletes through movement screens or maybe it is taping or bracing or whatever, we do that. And then if you get injured, we're there to evaluate and diagnose, and then we can rehabilitate you. And then we go through that whole process mentally and physically with you, and then we can clear you to play. And we are doing the first aid. We are, trained in emergency care. We are, helping you go to the doctor, figuring out what doctor to go to. We're doing surgical, we're doing post-surgical, like we're doing all of the things that can be involved with you as an athlete, whether you are healthy or not, like we can be a part of that. And I think that's a really unique thing about what athletic trainers do and what I really appreciate and love about it.
Absolutely. Now, obviously, you're there at Belhaven, and I think a lot of people may or may not know Belhaven's dance department has won multiple awards. Really, really great arts program, great dance program, and you're the athletic trainer for the dancers that perform in that department. So it is kind of a new area of athletic training, and I know you've done numerous publications, won all types of awards. So if people are like, look, this is interesting, but I'm not really a sports person. This is an area of athletic training that has recently come about that is really taken off, and you're right there on the front line with it. So, just we talked about what a sports athletic trainer does. What does a dance athletic trainer do?
Yeah, I mean, I think I do similar things that to what a sports athletic trainer does. I think for me, I don't have like, if we look at football, like they're on the sidelines, there's the Friday night lights, like it's like there's all that stuff. And my Friday night lights looks a little bit different. So, my typical day is like I'm here in the clinic and students can make appointments with me to do rehab or preventative strength training type stuff, that they can come see me for half an hour. And so we get that one-on-one time, which is really nice. But I'm still making doctor's appointments. I still go to doctor's appointments. I still do, if there is an emergency, I'm here. I'm still doing wound care. I still tape. Um, I'm up. I go up to watch their rehearsals and watch them in class. And then my Friday Night Lights is a performance. So I'm here all day and then they go into the performance and I'm backstage and I'm doing treatment and I'm there watching just to make sure that nothing happens. But if it does, I'm here. And so, yeah, I mean, it's the different, I think a big difference is that my students or my athletes, they have a lot more flexibility than what we're used to. And so that brings about a whole different type of what can happen injury wise. I think also a big thing that I tell people is So my students are dance majors. So this isn't a dance team. Belhaven has a dance team, but I'm with the dance department. So they are majors and minors. They are getting a degree in dance, which means if they break their foot, like their classes are taking ballet or modern or hip hop. So if they break their foot and they can't dance for a month, they have to drop the class, which means they don't get the credit. They may not then graduate with their friends. And so that's an extra pressure that I have that's different than like if you are playing soccer on the Belhaven team. Like that's a extracurricular thing. Like you're getting a scholarship, but you can still go to business class, you can still go to psych, like all that stuff. But my students can't dance if their foot is broken. So I think that's a major difference in kind of what I have to think about as a dance athletic trainer in a collegiate setting specifically versus like a collegiate, like traditional sports AT.
Yeah, and I know something you enjoy is that you also get to work out with them because when they're at their practices, it gives you a chance to dance and it gives you a chance to stay in shape. So it really does. It's a job where you're not just stuck behind a desk all day. You really get to be active. You get to be backstage at the events. So you really get to be again. It's not a sport, but you're still a part of the team. And like I said, they've won numerous awards, and it really is something really cool and it really needs good people to look into getting into it.
Yeah, I'm not a desk person. I can't stay behind a desk. So yeah, whenever there's an opportunity and I'm free, I love to go take class with them. And they really enjoy that. Miss Tori, you're gonna come take class. I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna come take class, move this old bones, you know. But it's a lot of fun and I really love being able to watch backstage and watch them perform and knowing that I've gotten to be a part of their experience, their collegiate experience, whether it's just, whether they did get injured and it was a really difficult thing and I walked them through that, or maybe we just had a conversation about something random in the hallway, but like getting to see them do what they love, like that's what I'm here for. And yeah, it's a lot of fun. And honestly, like performing arts is what we call like a non-traditional setting, but athletic trainers are really anywhere there's any something physically active happening. So we have people at Amazon and at Delta, like the industrial
Wow.
setting. We have like, yeah, like in warehouses, with airlines, like with the military. Like the military is a growing field. Like if you want to do Army, Air Force, like Marine, whatever. Like we are literally anywhere you can think of somebody doing something where they could get hurt, we can be there. And so
Wow.
if you're interested in that, like that is a totally growing, like performing arts is growing for sure. But military, industrial, being in the clinic, like we have athletic trainers who are scrubbing into surgeries, like they are right there with the doctor. Like so
Wow.
that like we can do all of these different things. And so I definitely suggest like you looking into stuff. Like we have people with Cirque du Soleil and on cruise ships and all the different types of stuff. So
Yeah, and I'd forgotten about that. Yeah, but there's definitely athletic trainers. Anytime there's in Vegas, all those guys doing the twirly whirlies and the flips, that you have serious risk of
absolutely.
injury. Now, and that was a
Absolutely.
great segue because we have a lot of kids say they want to work in health science because they hear about nurses, they hear about doctors, and somebody wants to do that, that's fine. We don't discourage them, but this is an area of health science that you can get into, and you don't necessarily need all these years of school. I mean, you got to have the degrees, you got to pretty much have a master's, but it's something that they can finish a lot quicker and be hands on immediately. So, talk about what's required in an athletic training degree because I know even though it's all different programs, all the programs are going to be similar to the classes that are taken when it comes to athletic training.
Yeah. So the programs like the some things have changed since I've been in school since it's about been 10 years. But essentially now you have to just get your master's degree in athletic training. All of the programs, as far as I know, have transitioned to a master's program. So that's about 2 to 3 years to get your master's, and then you have to sit for the board of certification exam, the BOC, and that is basically a comprehensive exam, like 3 to 4 hours, basically asking you everything you've ever learned as an athletic trainer, just to make sure you actually know what you're doing. And then once you pass the BOC, then you're considered then a certified athletic trainer. And then whatever state you decide to work in, you either get licensed or registered to be able to work in that state. Um, And so that's basically it. Now, when you're getting your master's, you are also getting a certain amount of clinical hours. So you're working under a current athletic trainer just to learn, what's going on and everything. But that's a part of your school. So you're taking classes, but then you're also doing the clinical work. And so that's helping you making a well-rounded athletic trainer that is then able to sit for the BOC. But yeah, once you pass the BOC and you get certified or licensed, like you're good to go to practice in whatever state you're licensed or registered in. So it's definitely not like 10 years of school, like going to med school. But there is, some athletic trainers that get their masters, but then they go on to either get a doctorate of physical therapy, or they're doing what I'm doing. I'm getting a doctorate of athletic training. So you can be a doctor. It's just a little bit different. You're not an MD. But there are a whole bunch of different types of paths you can take from being an athletic trainer. So,
Yeah, and you mentioned about the clinical hours. All these athletic programs. First of all, they love having folks help out, but that is just it's such a vital way to get experience. I know when I was in grad school at LSU, there was literally 20 guys that were in school as student athletic trainers that were working with the head trainers in practice every day. They were getting hands-on experience. Now, does that mean they're going to be with the SEC football team? No, but they're going to have that on their resume, and they're going to learn from some of the best to move on in the field. Now, one last thing
absolutely.
before I get on to their questions, and you kind of alluded to this, and I think this is important, and this is something else we haven't really talked about enough, because obviously all the scientific knowledge has to be there. You've got to be able to think quickly in emergency situations. You've got to know how the body moves. But this is a field where you have got to have great communication skills. Somebody that is not an athletic trainer is going to have to understand what is wrong. You're going to have to explain to them clearly. You may have to explain to a coach or a parent about what the next steps are. So I think I can speak for all other teachers when I say, you know, all the TikTok and stuff is fun, but you've got to learn how to speak, you've got to learn how to talk, and you've got to learn how to articulate an idea to someone that is not an expert in your field. So, how important are those skills when it comes to athletic training?
Oh yeah, vital, hugely important. Yeah, I mean, if you saw the number of emails I get every day that I have to respond to, yeah, I mean, if I think sometimes as medical, we can, how do I say this nicely? Sometimes we want to show off, and so we want to show off like how well we can talk about something, and so we use all the medical jargon. But to be honest, like that doesn't show anything. It just shows you like you actually don't know your audience. And so as medical, like yes, I can speak medically, but if I'm talking to one of my students, they don't understand what the heck I'm saying. So that's not going to help them. So I need to be able to say it in layman's terms. I need to be able to speak to their parent. Like I've had two students who had surgery this year. So I had to talk to their parents and be like, hey, like this is what's going on. This is what I've talked to the doctor about. This is what they're saying. Like being able to keep those lines of communication, like from every day, I'm talking to faculty, I'm talking to my chair, I'm talking to my student, I'm talking to parents, I'm talking to the doctor, I'm talking to the nutritionist, to the psychologist, like all these different types of things. And I can't just send them an email, not, saying hello, first of all, and then not saying what I'm, emailing them for, and then not signing my name. Like you have to have those things. You have to be respectful to people. These one-liners of like, hey, this is what I need. Bye. Like you can't do that. So communication is absolutely critical if you want anything done, or even if you just want to be respected for what you do. Like you have to communicate with people just so we're all on the same page. Um, because otherwise it's just gonna blow up, and I don't have a lot of time for that. So
Yeah, and then and
yeah,
also,
learn how to communicate in high school.
yeah, and then especially if there's an injury and any type of emergency situation, you've got to give direction. So you could be, somebody could be seriously injured if you cannot communicate what's going on.
Yep.
So again, I cannot stress enough, and I know they get sick of me
Yep.
talking about it, but it's just such a vital skill across all fields that's necessary. Well, I do have some questions from the students. I'll get to as many of these as I can. Man, I like this first one. This is Janila Carter. She's in ninth grade, one of our cheerleaders. And she asked, how do you adjust training programs for different sports or different dance styles?
Good question. Yeah, so a lot of what I try to do every semester, so we have different choreography every semester, and so I try to go up and watch class as much as I can, and then I try to go watch each of the rehearsals to see what types of movement they're doing. Like some choreographers really love like partnering, so they're lifting each other and throwing each other and catching each other. And so if I can see that, then I know like, oh, we might get some bumps and bruises in certain spaces and versus another choreographer is going to be jumping, and so I might see more Achilles tendonitis. And so that being able to see their classes and see their rehearsals gives me an idea of movement patterns. So if they're all coming to me with the same injury and I know they're in the same rehearsal together, I know, oh, we need to try and strengthen either their quads or their glutes or whatever. So that just helps me specify my rehab a little bit more. Everybody's different. Everybody, the reason why they get an injury may all be different, but I can at least like have an idea of why something might be happening. So,
Absolutely. I like this one. This is Jacayla Green, another one of our cheerleaders. And she asks, what do you do when you have trouble finding the solution to a certain situation?
ugh, happens all the time. So being a researcher, the one of the first things I do is I go to try and find a research article from a journal to see if somebody's written about it. And so if they've written about it, then that'll typically give me some information that's helpful. And if I can't find a journal article, what I'll do, I have a lot of different mentors or I know a lot of different people in performing arts. And so I'll just text somebody and be like, or email somebody, be like, hey, I don't know what I'm doing. Can you please help me? Um, because so I highly encourage mentorship. I highly encourage you trying to find somebody that you can just that will take you under their wing and just be like, hey, like because we don't like to hear it when we're young, but we don't know everything. Like we don't. And we actually need to like listen to somebody who's actually been in this a lot longer than us and can tell us like, hey, you're not doing that well. Here's a better way to do it, or here's a more efficient way to do it. Um, and so yeah, I would say researching things first and then contacting a mentor. And then honestly praying. I'm like, Lord, I don't know what the heck is going on. I need help. So
Love it. I like this one. This is Tredarius Quinn. He's in our band. And he asked, what was your biggest inspiration to get in this area of health science?
yeah, I think I've been dancing since I was 6.
Oh,
So
cool.
that's been what, 23 years. And so I had gotten injured and went to PT and all that stuff. And I knew when I was a dancer that I wasn't going to be professional. Like that was never a goal of mine. But when I found out that ATs worked with dancers, I was like, oh, that's really interesting. Like
Yeah.
I never saw medical working with dancers or performing artists. And so the fact that I get to give, because I think a lot of people don't see dancers as athletes. And I believe that they are. I think they just look different. They make it look really easy because they have makeup and they're dancing to music. But if you've ever danced before, I can tell you it's very difficult. So being able to give them high quality healthcare for me is really important. And so just being able to be, on these front lines of like advocating for them and trying to get more people into performing arts, like that's truly what I love to do. I still love sports. Like I don't mind working with sports still, but dance really has my heart. So
That's awesome. I got time for two more. This is Cameron Jobe. He's one of our football players. And he asked, is it hard training people every day if you maybe see an injury you've never seen before?
absolutely. Yeah. Sometimes my students come in and they're like, oh, Miss Story, I have pain. I'm like, well, what'd you do? They're like, oh, nothing. I'm like, well, that doesn't make any sense. So I kind of had to throw like, we have like books of where we learn, specific mechanisms to injuries and stuff. And within the first couple of years of being here, I noticed my dancers didn't fit those mechanisms. So I kind of had to throw the book out the window and just figure out something else and be like, okay, like what's actually happening. So sometimes that can be frustrating. Sometimes I just want my dancers to have normal, regular injuries that I can treat with the book. But sometimes that's
Yeah.
like that sometimes takes the fun out of it too, though. So, yeah, it can get frustrating when they don't have normal things, but I think it also, I like being a detective. I like trying to experiment and figure things out. And so I think that makes it fun for me and it keeps it like new and fresh. So I don't get super bored.
Yeah, and the human body is so unpredictable. And that's a great segue to this last question. Is this is Callista Brown, and she's in ninth grade, and she asked, are any 2 days of your job the same?
No. I have my appointment app and I look at it and I'm like, oh yeah, that looks like a super like chill day. And then I come in and somebody walks in and it turns out to not be a chill day. So sometimes it does go to plan, but a lot of times it doesn't. And so you just kind of have to be like, whatever happens, happens, and you just prepare for what you can and then just go along for the ride and do what you got to do. So yeah.
Awesome. Now we're almost out of time, and as always, we thank you so much for joining us. But a couple things before we go. Obviously, we got to plug the Belhaven Dance Department. So if anybody wants to come see a performance or get in more, or if they're interested in being a student, how can they get more information about the Belhaven Dance Department and maybe come see one of the performances soon?
Yeah, I would love that. So Belhaven Dance, we're on Instagram and Facebook. And we actually have our last show, our spring dance concert, which is a collection of faculty works. So we've had different faculty choreograph. And so I think we have 6 pieces. But that is going to be April 10th, 11th, and 12th. So not this
Cool.
weekend, but next weekend. If you want to come by, it's going to be really great. It's probably about like a 90-minute show with an intermission.
Cool.
But yeah, just come by and see what they do. If you've never been to a dance performance, this would be a great one to come to. There's going to be ballet and modern and jazz, and I don't think we have hip hop right now, but all those types of things. And um, yeah, we have shows all the time throughout the year. So Greg, you can give out my email if anybody's ever interested of when the shows are and stuff. But those are our social media stuff. We're on the Belhaven, website as well, so you can see all the dates of the shows and everything. But yeah, I would love for you all to come by.
Well, the last thing before we go, obviously, and we're winding up Women's History Month here, is this is a field that needs more women. We always say we need more men in nursing, but we need more women in athletic training, not only for a diversity standpoint, but when you're dealing with majority women dancers, they're going to feel more comfortable talking to a woman about things that are going on with their body, and that's just a fact. And
Yeah.
we need more minority women to get into this field. So this is a field that was dominated by men for decades. I mean, there's no disputing that. The facts are the facts. But this field really needs some of these young ladies to consider getting into it. So why should our young ladies really consider becoming athletic trainers?
Yeah, I think at this point, I don't know the stats off the top of my head, but I want to say we're about 50-50 at this point,
Oh,
of
cool.
males and females in athletic training. I think. Don't quote me. But yeah, I think specifically for dance, I think like what you said, like my students, I think are comfortable with me because my department is all female. So there are things that I can be real with them about because I am a female. But I have worked with male dancers, and so yeah, like I wouldn't deter you against that. Like, oh, I can't work with a man. Like you can. Like I've also been in football locker rooms. I can work with, football players too, right? So I think as long as you know how to conduct yourself as a female, know that this profession can be difficult, especially if you want to go into a male-dominated sport like football, like basketball. There are going to be people who unfortunately don't know how to handle themselves, and they're going to come at you and they're going to treat you like a piece of trash. But you got to be able to stand up for yourself and know what you know and be strong in that and be able to stand your ground. And I think that there are spaces for us and we do belong here and we belong in performing arts, especially as a minority woman. There aren't a lot of me here in performing arts, but I think, something that's important to me is to show people that I am here. Like you are welcome here in performing arts. Like we want you here. I have Black students, and I think the fact that I have natural hair, that I change my hair up all the time, like that means something to them, whether they know it or not. Like being able to see me be myself, but also give high quality healthcare, I think is huge. So, yeah, we need women here. We need men too. I mean, we need all of y'all. Just come out here and like be yourself, be respectful, be professional, and do the job. Like do the job well. And there's a space for you here. So.
Awesome. Well, again, we thank you so much for fitting this in your schedule. It's just always a joy to have us and have you, and it's just such a cool thing you're doing, and just on the cutting edge of dance science over there. But Victoria Fauntroy, athletic trainer for the Department of Dance, all the way over at Belhaven University, home of the Blazers. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
I talk to you soon, buddy.
All right. Bye.
See ya.